of information. What are the innovations and the major challenges that companies and social organizations that seek to create social innovation that they are perceiving in this shift of scenario? How are they innovating to adjust to the proposal, to their purpose, and to create real experiences? And we hope that this panel will inspire everybody to take action. Everybody shared wonderful experiences, especially that goes way beyond companies and social organizations, from young people that are on the field, that are out there taking it to the streets and bringing this social good to reality. So we participate in companies, and what is our role? How are we going to innovate and make a difference in this connected society? With this new behavior of people, how do we fit in the cycle of innovation? As a host here, I would like to say that I'm very pleased with Chris's words, because she brought, at least to me, a new idea of organization of the process of innovation. It is no different in a company, in a social organization. It has to be very persistent. It is a long-term project. It is intersectorial. We cannot demonize anybody. Business has to be a part of it. Yes. We must face this intersectorality. I always say that I am a privileged person because I am an entrepreneur for 27 years. I am a volunteer for 33 years. I worked in the government for 2 years, so I've been in all chairs. So it's easy to me to perceive intersectorality, but it's not easy for people that work in a social organization or just in a company, or for people that only work on the field. So this is our challenge. This is social good. This is the process of collaboration. We perceive innovation in this way, and somebody came to talk to me. I guess it was Luis, my companion, my fellow mate. What Chris brought to the table really organized the ideas, and it really did, because it is a process and we have to persist. When I talk a little bit about IVA and our innovations with ICom, I see that what Chris put here makes complete sense. We have to see this in a period of 20 and 30 years ahead. We cannot expect immediate result. We create different arms to it. So that is it. I think we shared all the visions from the perspectives of the field, the young people, the educators, the people that are not so young, such as me. And we are here. We are sharing. We are heading a process of social innovation. And I just said that I'm not young anymore. Well, we are 50, and we are heading a process filled with young people. Well, that's great. So I'd like to call to the stage Lucia from ICom, Anderson from ICom, Bruna Bisato from Ericsson, that came here. Last year Carla came, this year Bruna came, Pedro Sirgado from EDP Institute, and my dear friend and fellow mate in our journey, Regina Esteves. So we are going to start this conversation. And again, I have to start talking a little bit about our organization, our volunteers. So I will invite Anna. Anna, where are you? Somebody please call Ana Maria for me. Anna. She's my right arm, she's my left arm, she's my whole being. Anna is that person. When I have an idea, she says, "Oh my God, how are we going to make this come to fruition?" She has to handle it. So Anna is here. Well, with this PowerPoint, as Joaquin said, what is the PowerPoint? I will talk a little bit about IVA and a little bit about the online volunteers, voluntários online, and how we come about these waves of innovation, how we deal with that. And this is a group of people and ideas and good intentions. My God, what happened here with the slides? I went back. Go forward, yes. Okay. So IVA was created 15 years ago in a process of innovation, which was inspired by Dr. Ruth Cardoso. When I met Regina, that is here with us, Dr. Ruth is a great inspiration, and she brought an innovation to the program in the volunteering center for Brazil. So we have the city of Curitiba, São Paulo, and Rio de Janeiro. Some people are here with us. We are also along with Monica, that was part of this first process. It is a great joy, but it was a major challenge. When Anna and I decided to head this project, we knew there was a challenge. It was a shift in culture, a shift in mentality. We had to work in a whole new way in volunteering. So this grew. 15 years ago, we started this organization, and 10 years later, we realized that in this whole world that we live in this connectivity, in this new form of behavior, in this new citizens, that we had to change. Our volunteers was on the web, so it came Zig that you met. Zig was really young at the time, and I said to him, we want to do an innovation with online volunteering. How can we make a move to the internet? And he said, Fernanda, come back tomorrow, that I will have an idea ready for you. And so he created this movement of voluntary blog. So he's been with us for 6 years now. We have 1,014 blogs at the time. We rocked the online atmosphere, and so we created Volunteers Online in 2008. This was the first version of the portal. We always had innovation by cloning. I really believe in innovating by copying. I go out there and I copy. Is it bad? No, it's not, because we know and we follow up. Because if things work and if people engage and if the format world works, we can make it work for our format as well. So actually we don't invent, we copy and we add. So today, Voluntários Online, which is our original project to use technology, it has 55 volunteers, 700 NGOs in all the Brazilian states. There are thousands of spots and opportunities, and the profile, 68% are women, 32% are men, and many, many young people. So the young people talking here to us are our online volunteers. Their education is very high level and they are all very busy. So this is the profile of the young people in Brazil that wants to volunteer. This is the profile of social good. This is our profile. The people that want to do a difference and are achieving this goal. So this is the stories of our volunteers. And talking with Lucia, with Anderson in ICom, we decided to do a social shift when we didn't even realize that social good existed, so we created Chibi. It was a seminar conducted by IVA in the city of Florianopolis. So up came the social good. Lucia and I went to New York and we watched social good. We participated and we came back with an idea that scared Anderson and our whole team, and we are here today. This was the third wave of innovation. So this is the portal. 5 years in the making, 5 years of online volunteer. This is the process of innovation, a process of scaling and bringing people in and to add people to the project, and we can go to social good. And social good is taking its first steps, a year and a half, but we are in the same process. And since it's a global movement, it is gaining a global, worldwide spread. We are part of this movement, and we really believe that it will have a long life and can impact society. The daily life of a organization to innovate is not easy. Everybody here knows it is not easy, but as we were saying, we have to reinvent ourselves every single day. We have to collaborate, co-create, share, and do the things that we are doing today, sharing. And each and every one of us will share their story of innovation, their companies, their social organizations, so we can have a discussion on this theme. Thank you, everybody. Well, we don't have an order, so I'll pass the floor to Regina. Thank you, Fernanda, and thank you for inspiring us again and again and reinventing yourself. Fernanda is always instigating us, but she represents the Centro Ruth Cardoso, and we can share with us a little bit of this challenge that is constantly, daily instigating us and causing us to think differently and out of the box. You can imagine Dr. Ruth is an innovator, she's an inspirer, and this is a legacy of the Center of Ruth Cardoso that was founded after she passed away. So this is a major challenge, and we decided to take risks, because when we talk about innovation, the first thing is to take risks, because we are not sure if it's going to work out or not. So we gather a group. I saw Carol in the entrance, Kiko, many institutions, Social Good, many others. They gather and thought, what would they do with the aiming at turning Centro Ruth Cardoso open to this innovation, but also bridging and people, and bringing this as a reference for the civil society, especially for social organizations. And this group did a proposal for us to have a festival of ideas, which is a very concrete project now currently. And we have an opportunity for people to share their ideas in different topics to benefit socially through social media. So we have a platform that allows us to co-create both online and in co-creation environments. It's the third year of this festival. The platform developed the co-creations that were planned for once a month, became weekly and then daily in the Centro Ruth Cardoso. But we would like to share with you folks not only the ideas that came out of the Festival of Ideas and the outcomes of the group, but also what this brought as a transformation for an institution, especially for a third sector institution. So we have many points of learning. The first one is that this innovation only comes about if essentially the institution is open to innovation. So I think that the necessity to organize something that is aimed at the legacy of Ruth Cardoso, it was a challenge that created an opportunity. So it wasn't just about to reproduce what the entities created by her were doing, but what could we do to maintain it. So we had the opportunity to generate that created this need and this outcome. The second point is that the institutions of the third sector, this is no news for anybody, but they are at a critical point as far as sustainability, not only financial sustainability, but also in emissions. So when we see here different experiences as a civil society, not necessarily as institutions, but as a community, as people, as individuals working, this is a great reflection for us to do. How can we maintain with a proposal of social innovation, but also in environments that are completely traditional and closed? We work in internal partnerships, but also external partnerships, and co-create a solution with other institutions and other communities. It is very precarious, it's very fragile, so it is a very important reflection that is part of the daily life of any institution. We also propose a new reflection with this experience. How could we promote, encourage to listen to society, to the community, to the groups, and the ideas they had to improve our lives? How we could create an environment of listening to those ideas, because they are very feasible ideas, they are very achievable ideas. But as an institution, how could we take this to a public policy to have a greater impact? Just an example, the theme of urban mobility is one of the most accessed themes by the Festival of Ideas, with ideas and creators. And we used to say there is no listening in the public policy sector, so we try to interact in a more effective manner with the public policy. So this theme that was chosen was education. So how could we encourage co-creating environments, and environments that are highly traditional, that are schools, and how could we generate this protagonism of the very student that's in there, so he could be the agent of change in the school without dismissing the academic community, without dismissing the principal and the teachers, but empowering the students to think and rethink and be the protagonist of the school environment and the creation environment.
We worked in São Paulo and Rio and the Municipal Secretariat of Rio and Florianópolis. And since we have risks in innovation, we believe that we were in the right path. It's possible to create the innovative environment in schools, or favor it if it already exists. So we also have to motivate the structures that are there, that maybe in this environment they're not stimulated to innovate. So this is what happened with the activities of the third sector. We're always searching for this innovation, but we don't think about the environment where we live and where we connect. So I would really like to learn more from you and hear from you how we can renew the environments of the third sector so that this innovation can be lived by what we wish.
Assim, eu acompanho de perto o trabalho da Regina, do Centro Ruth Cardoso, né?
I follow Regina's work, and I see the challenge that Regina has in the leadership of this project. It's not easy to innovate, but we can't be afraid of failing. This is the biggest proof. We need to risk and we need to test. We're going to continue to hear. Pedro from EDP Institute is going to talk a little bit to us about his story and innovation.
Boa noite. Vou ver se não me apanham como me apanharam no...
You can find out where I am from because I can mistake my accent. I'm from Portugal. I work for EDP. It is an electrical energy company of distribution and commercialization of electrical energy. It does what Eletropaulo does in São Paulo. But in the north coast, Guarulhos, São José dos Campos, in the state of Espírito Santo. And we also have a lot of different energy generation plants. I come from the other side. We work in a very complex environment. We are now constructing 2 power plants. One of them is 100 kilometers away from Macapá. It's a very complex region. And we're going to flood an area and reallocate some families, and we have to deal with it. The electrical sector does this for many years, and we're now rediscovering ways of doing that, introducing what we call the social innovation. We work in a reality where we have, for example, neighborhoods, not only us. Everywhere in Brazil, we have neighborhoods where 50% of the energy is not paid for. There's no business that can survive with 50% of steel. 50% of stealing, and this happens in the electrical sector. We are an electrical company. We work in Portugal, and we worked in Brazil. We work in Brazil since '96 as well. And at the same time, a very quick parenthesis, the electrical sector is badly seen by all of us who are clients of an electrical company. It is seen as a conventional sector and very little innovative. The electrical sector is now passing through a technological movement that we had with telecommunications in the 90s. Now, nowadays, we don't see home telephones anymore. People are having more and more cell phones, so we are working on to follow this technology. We created this IDP Institute, EDP Institute. We are 5 years old. It's fairly new. We have a previous history of working in the social area, and we're aiming at changing that. So I'm going to tell some examples. Let's focus on some examples that show how the EDP Institute will approach these social issues. And we're going to talk about a project that we developed to fight the electrical exclusion. The world has 7 billion people, and 1.3 billion do not have access to electrical energy. We have no idea of how it is to live without electrical energy. We can't read at night. We can't work at night. We can't freeze our food. So I am describing, I knew this reality, I am describing this reality, but when we go to a place where there's no electrical energy, we see that it is another world of lack of possibilities. During the day, you need to seek survival and subsistence. You can't study at night. You can't go to classes at night. You can do handicraft to complement your income. So we are having this project to fight this phenomenon. Brazil nowadays have 580,000 citizens that are excluded from the electrical network. It is a very small number compared to the numbers in the world. Brazil is a successful case. And this all starts with an experience in Kenya, in the refugees camp in the northwest of Kenya, called Takuma. This is a camp for refugees. And I'm going to talk about the approach of EDP for this issue. In this camp, we don't have electrical energy, only for the hospitals and the offices of the United Nations. It has nowadays 110,000 refugees. And I seek EDP in order to help, like we always did. As I said, this field is marked by the lack of innovation. So I talked to the president. I had a conversation with them, and to solve the problems of the camp. You have 110,000 refugees from Sudan and other places. And what I expected was to hear a yes, because it is a noble cause. And he said, no, we're not going to sponsor it. What we're going to do in this camp is different. We're going to help them solve the problem of electrical energy in the field, because this is what we did with other company. And a request for sponsorship turned into a project that consisted on a diagnosis of energy in the refugees camp, and also a set of solutions for electrical energy based on the sun in order to solve this problem. The Brazilian case, telling about the Brazilian experience, we put together a project that is called Light for All Brazil. It had a pilot phase at the end of 2012. It was a pilot phase, which is now going to be scaled to a bigger production phase. And us, in partnership with the Inter-American Bank of Development and with a professor of MIT, we designed a solution for 13 communities isolated from the electrical system in the Tapajós and Arapiuns River in Pará. So since the place had no electrical energy, we used a portable solar system, a photovoltaic panel, and a LED lamp. We chose the best components that we could find. This is what led our choice was the photovoltaic panel, and we chose a high power LED from Philips. And we chose a professor from MIT to orient us, and we put together a project We chose a partner in field that knows this region better than anyone else. And we went to these communities to know their cities and get to know and explain our proposals and design the solution together with them. We didn't give them the materials and let them do it. We customized the product. All the products ended up being integrated in the final solution in Rocinha favela in Rio that generated income for this NGO. In the next phase of the process, probably we're going to integrate the components there for the state of they're at the state of Pará. And then we had a very interesting project that allowed us statements such as, nowadays my granddaughter wakes up in the morning because and she doesn't have her nose black because she didn't sleep at the candlelight. This is something that I learned. I like to sleep in the dark because the light is where I can reach. For those who don't have light, they don't like to sleep in the dark. So they are not animals. Since they're not animals, they sleep with the light on or with the candle on. In these 3 communities, we have developed this pilot phase in about a year, and this equipment was distributed. We have improvement in the sales because they can work at night, they can study at night, the teachers can prepare their classes at night. The lights are up all night in the least amount of power, and we're trying to scale this project. This is an example of an intervention that the Institute developed in Brazil. In this stage in Brazil, we need to have a pilot project. It's a technological project. And this is not science fiction because in Portugal we have an electrical generator that serves most of our clients. If you go to the EDP site in Portugal, you can see that it as an electrical power provider, it helps all of the citizens to put photovoltaic panels in their houses, and that we finance them. In Aparecida, we're having a pilot project in the technological area, and the Institute is also trying to provide solutions for social technology. For example, what we're doing there is developing a very elaborated concept of a social web. We believe that in that community, in Aparecida, there are NGOs and there are institutions to solve some problems, but they needed a catalyst. And we call that catalyst a social web. So we created a physical, technological structure, a website, and a mobilization so that all the players that work in the municipality of Aparecida can communicate among them and share experiences. So I'm talking here today about an example of a company that does their business every day in a very complex environment. And 5 years ago, there wasn't this complexity, but now we have it again. In Portugal, we weren't hungry 5 years ago, but now we are. We couldn't think about a child showing up at school without reading a book, but now we do. So we took this idea of social technology from Portugal. We started in Lisbon. We took the Well Institute that works on social entrepreneurship. We took it to Lisbon. And Brazil may be an exporter of social technologies to Europe. Thank you, Pedro. It's very interesting for us to see this point of view of a company, an international company that works with energy and that has innovative solutions that are interesting inside their own business. Having an action related to this business, I think this is a perspective that we have to put on the table and discuss it, and also talk about how companies and their private social investments can innovate inside their main business. I think it is very interesting for us to hear it. We thank you a lot, and then we're gonna hear the pair, Lucia and Anderson. We heard from a company, and now we're gonna hear from a social organization, and then we're gonna get back to the company.
So the PowerPoint for Lucia. Well, I will resume my speech from the morning, explaining what is different from what I heard today about this young person that is born with this idea to put technology at the service for a cause. We had a cause, and we went after the technology to enable us to stay relevant and to keep fulfilling the mission that we had posed for ourselves. So really, the technology came not because we were people from the technology sector, but we came to the conclusion that using technology would be the only way to keep tending the needs and fulfilling our mission. So ICom was created as a community foundation, and people ask what that is. Well, a community foundation has four main characteristics. It acts in a certain field. It might be a city, a district, or even a country. Kenya has one community foundation that takes care of the whole country, but the distinguishing factor is that it is not instituted by one person or a company. It is actually created by a representative group from the community that wants to create a way to strengthen the social relations of that community in particular. So it is created from the mobilization of a group of people, usually different people, and nobody is the sole funder of a community organization such as this. It comes from the donations of people in that community. They gather together around social investment funds, and they address a certain issue that emerges in that community. So people ask, what is the field that this community organization acts? Is it healthcare? Is it urban mobility? Actually, the community institution acts in the emerging theme that is necessary and important for that community, so it is constantly renovating itself to meet certain demands. One of the instruments and tools that we use to identify these demands are the reports of vital signs, which is a checkup that we do in a certain city, and indicators that we use to realize and identify the areas that have a greater need to service. One of the many areas that we were created in. The mission of ICom is to promote community development through mobilization, through articulation and support for funders. And when we talk about funders, we talk about companies, businesses, local businesses, people, families, and also social organizations. So the two cases that Anderson will tell a little bit more about us, the executive director of ICom, they came out of the necessity. We started acting, for example, in programs of strengthening of institutions for 300 NGOs that operate in our field. So we started realizing that the first group of 50 NGOs, we developed a beautiful project called Fortalecer, which translates to strengthening. We worked with each institution to identify their mission, funding sources, so they can improve their management, expand their partnerships, and it was intense work where we had to spend a year and a half working with those 50 NGOs so we could generate some results. And this fits into what Chris said in the morning. How am I going to scale this? It is a beautiful project, it's generating outcomes, it is a success, but how will I serve not only 50 but 300 or 1700 NGOs that we have operating in our field. So we seek technology proactively to help us solve this problem through the transparency portal that Anderson is going to tell us about. So the other initiative that we will describe to you folks is the creation of the Center of Support for Social Innovation. This is a center that offers a physical structure of encounter for different actors of communities that are interested in doing something for the communities. So we had to learn, for example, that the NGOs were not the sole actors that were bringing forth social innovation in the community. There were entrepreneurs, not only social entrepreneurs, but also business entrepreneurs that wanted to have a social impact. People that said, I have this project, I have this idea, but I do not want to turn into an NGO. How can we develop methodologies and an environment of support to all of those people that we knew that were the agents, the players of change in the community? So I will pass the floor to Anderson. I just wanted to say, from the scope of a person that is not connected to technology, that does not think that every new application is the greatest thing, that still has difficulty to understand what is the blogosphere. I was joking and Fernanda was talking about the blogosphere. I said, where is this planet? In which galaxy is this located? But I see in technology the only way for us to keep reinventing ourselves and to attaining goals and fulfilling our missions. I will pass the floor to Anderson so he can tell us a bit about our challenges. I will teach you. Just press this button, then it passes the slide. That's how this technology works. After Fernanda said publicly my age, I do not feel embarrassed about anything anymore. I am 51, she's 50. Well, folks, I think the major challenge for social innovation and the use of technology is not only an issue of instrument and technique, not only a multi-sectorality issue, but also an intergeneration issue, and also from the point of view of the youth that is coming up and talking to us in the different organizations that were founded 30 years ago with the same leaderships that have a great history in the grassroots communities, and they have a great deal of experience, and they can contribute a lot for social innovation and to facilitate the use of technology to those communities that they work in. And she mentioned a few of the programs that we have. That we gathered 50 organizations, and this group matured, and it closed as a working group. And 30 out of those institutions were the entrepreneurs of an initiative that perceived in the use of technology a way to better communicate to the community what the institutions were doing on the field, what was the work, what was the mission, what did it make sense, things that not only the grassroots organizations are able to do. So usually we can mobilize resources for the projects to operate on the field, but not always are you able to generate resources to talk to your neighbor and talk about the impact that it is having in that community. So in the same period of time of discussion about those issues of community understanding the value in the field, there was in Brazil a movement of participation of people that badly use the public resources, that use the legal structure of the organizations, that stained the work of most institutions that have nothing to do with this kind of practice. But the strength of communication about the misuse of public resources is much stronger than the institutions that talk about it. So we created a movement of the institutions to talk about themselves, to tell us a bit about who we are, how much resources we moved, how much we pay, and so forth. So all of this information we can find in this portal that is an online platform created by the institutions. They created the database. They say what information they want there, what they deem relevant, what they think is interesting for their stakeholders, and so the platform was created. The problem that in the platform was the lack of trust, and also the difficulty of management in the program of institutional development. So the solution came through technology. The results today in the portal, it is a platform that it is an initiative of a movement. ICom coordinates it, but what makes us proud is that today people and organizations are not part of the platform. They use the platform. The platform is a tool. It's ours. It's from the field, and the institutions use it in the best way possible. So the solutions for the problems and the challenges that we have in developing the platform also have to be identified in these discussions in the movement of transparency. So we have 70 institutions that have data published in the front of the portal out of 181 that are using the database. So if an organization goes to fill in the form, they identify the difficulty to raise the information that the form asks. So in this movement, it develops and it understands itself better, so it can communicate in a better way. And it's a difficult process. Sometimes it gets to the management of the institution, and the director board doesn't feel comfortable to publish the information, and it's okay. This is not a problem. This is a symptom. This is a diagnosis that the institution still needs to understand itself better and mature its own process, so we can effectively understand how we can generate a greater impact in its institution. So to close about the portal, we have a great challenge, which is to be able to include more institutions in this platform. So for this to happen, we need support. We need managers to be familiar with the tool, with the content, and to conduct processes of institutional development in their own institutions. And we can only do this through partnerships. And one of the main partnerships was with universities that offer distance courses. They conduct courses of free of charge university courses, and this course today is very well known. We have organizations in São Paulo using the portal of the city of Fortaleza, this Espírito Santo. We have an opportunity to advance the idea of transparency in our field through a platform that is very easily used, and it is really a breakthrough and new and a novelty. And I will not spend a lot of time on this because the person that is heading the operation today is Carolina, which is our coordinator for the program, and she is in the Center of Social Innovation. It was created out of a necessity for the institution, the issue of transparency, to have a space of reference for us as institutions where we can encounter, we can maybe have a cup of coffee and talk about the work we are doing in the communities, where we can exchange information, exchange methodologies, maybe have a good library to consult. If I am from a different city and I want to set up a meeting, where can I conduct this meeting? Where can I use the internet in the city of Florianopolis? Today you can use the internet in the Center of Support. We moved there in the beginning of August. We did a first section of co-creation of the space with institutions and social investors, so they could tell how this space should emerge, should be like, so they could feel comfortable and understand that this is their own space. And now this is put in practice. So CAIS is a really innovating space of encounters, of exchanging experiences, and also connectivity between the fragile institutions that don't have much articulation with social investors that are seeking new models and capacity of investment in the communities. In CAIS, we have the issue of the physical space that is shared, the use of methodology that could structure and organize the ideas better, so they can inspire more and be more trustworthy, and try a couple of alternatives to do systematic changes in communities. So in this space, with this methodology, we are able to connect organizations and social initiatives that are not institutions, but they are independent, with national networks that bring innovation, and they are being conducted in many places to apply it in our community. So that is it, people. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for Lucia and Anderson. And in the first time that Lucia came with the idea to launch a community foundation almost 9 years ago, I didn't ever know what it was, but if Lucia says it's good, let's go for it. So this is a major challenge, this shift, this reinventing, and all of this challenge, this group challenge of ICom and IVA, which are two organizations based on the city of Florianopolis, and they have the privilege of of coming to fruition thanks to technology, of networking, and this strength of relationships. So we will listen to Bruna from Ericsson. She was here with us last year, and we will hear from Bruna the story of Ericsson and innovation.
Good afternoon, I'm Bruna. I am a manager of sustainability of Ericsson in Latin America, and we have several cases of projects of technology for good, the use of our technology to promote the good in society. And we brought today a case which is mobile health. It is an innovative project that had results and socioeconomic impacts, and it's a very interesting project to share with you. So first of all, talking about the partnerships, this project was developed in partnership with INCOR, one of the main health institutions associated with the medical school of USP, who was responsible for the project and also responsible for the testing and prototypes in camp and in field. The USP Medical School, in partnership with the Municipal Secretariat of Health, that are responsible for a project to optimize the universal system of health in the northwest region of São Paulo, LARC, which is the Laboratory of Networks and Computing of USP, University of São Paulo. They were responsible for the maintenance of computers and also for the security of application. And Ericsson, our Center of Research and Development of Indaiatuba, we were also responsible for safety and contributing with the project with all the expertise in mobile technologies and security. As I mentioned, the solution was a project implemented in the northwest region of São Paulo. It has at its scope automatizing all of the diagnosis of the universal health system. During the collection of data, we used to do it manually with paper and pen, and we decided to substitute this paper and pen with an Android application developed with a GPS system for the georeferencing of data and data collection. This is a little bit of the process. The health agents now do the collection in houses with the Android application, which is directly connected to the universal health system bases, and we have SMS so that we can manage this data. This is just a screen to exemplify how the application looks like and the team of one of the units. Since it was only in the northwest region, it was 6 basic units in the scope of the project. This is the unit of Jaguaré. And what we have as outcomes from this project primarily had as an objective automatizing the diagnosis of the universal health system. It used to be done in pen and paper, so it took about 60 years for the diagnosis to be issued. And also we were very careful about the reliability of data, and we made this process last one day, and any health agent had their lives a lot easier with this application. In the West Zone, we had about 25,000 families, which corresponds to 100,000 patients that are registered in our database, and 100 agents, health agents, that use this application nowadays. This is a little bit of our application in the West Zone, and this project only reinforces the interest of Ericsson to promote projects of innovation that use our technology in order to promote good in society and consequently building a connected society. Thank you, Bruna. Very interesting. I think that's what we need to share. This cross-sectorialism, it is very interesting for me. I think for all of us, we need to be always dialoguing among sectors and getting to know what is going on, and also appreciating the social investors. We talked about organizations and companies, but social good, for example, why is it happening? Why some institutes such as CNA Institute and Telefonica Foundation, they bet on our ideas? It is a private investment in the projects of other foundations that creates a big network. So this money from the institute, from the companies, for the business, if it's channeled for wide issues, it's going to have a lot more impact. So this discussion has to continue. I think we're here to move it further ahead. We have very few time for our aquarium session, but it's going to be open. And before I open this chair for the aquarium, I would like to thank Anna, who is my left arm, my right arm, my legs, and the whole team of Eva, ICom, and social groups. So before we go to questions and answers, I would like to open for the aquarium session and get to know people that want to come here and talk to us. Everybody is tired, but you guys are welcome. Excuse me, good afternoon. I'm here on the stage for the second time, and I would like to make a question. Carlos, right? I'm sorry. Pedro, sorry. I didn't catch your name. I have an impression with this social movement happening in Brazil and all. I try to seek references in literature to see how the artistic and cultural movements were, which is the idea of zeitgeist from culture in a certain space and time. And searching for reference, I read Henry Miller, a North American writer. Despite being a heavier literature, he talks a lot about philosophy, and he says that his biggest concern when he thinks about the United States civilization at the time that he was writing culturally was that the Americans, they do not worry about art and culture and doing something that he calls stage of art, which is the highest stage of an artistic development, because everything is very focused on the market, what was sold and what was not sold, so they lost a very big part of their cultural identity. And I would like to know a little bit about your experience, because I see Brazil develops a lot in terms of cultural, social culture, because we have a different reality than the one we have in Europe. I lived in Europe for 3 years, and this just reinforced the vision that I had. We have a very big crisis in identity, and we have more and more problems of social inclusion and differences in value, actually. I asked you outside, how was Portugal? And you said Portugal has social problems that didn't happen 5 years ago, and the changes that are going to happen now, maybe they are middle to long-term changes in about 10 years. I think if Brazil is in a level that Europe is, then we would take 50 to 60 years. I think I would ask what are the situation of working in this European context. Unfortunately, Brazil is a mess in this sense. I'm going to give my personal opinion and the point of view of social organization. I'm in Brazil for 8 years. I'm Brazilian. I vote. I vote because it's mandatory, because in Portugal it's not. I have my wife's family that is Brazilian but is living in the United States. I'm from the Northern Europe, and in the point of view of social organization is very clear. Portugal as a country and as an organization is in the middle, and Brazil has a distance in the way people live together. I didn't see anybody throwing trash by the window of their cars for many years, and I saw it here. Here in Brazil, what is public, we can damage. It's not mine. But I pay for it. But there is this notion anyway that I can deteriorate because it's not mine, even though we pay it in taxes. On the point of view of social organization, this reflects not only in social work, but it also impacts the rest of the company. There are a lot of differences. I wouldn't know how to say. What I have seen, and I didn't have this notion because we in Europe, we don't have this notion. I don't know if you in Brazil do. That what you do in Brazil in point of view of social innovation and social projects and what we saw here and what I have seen in my 8 years in Brazil is first world technology. It is very advanced. Maybe because in Europe or in Portugal there was no hunger and the public schools were good. Maybe because we didn't have a lot of need, we didn't perfect our technology very much. In Brazil, because we have the need, and they're still going to. There's a saying that in Portugal that says that the need is the master of all engineerings. A lot of the things that I saw here today and what I have seen in Brazil applicable to companies and even to schools, it would be an advantage to Portugal because we wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. We have a foundation in Portugal when we develop projects in Portugal, and lately it has been more logical to import solutions from Brazil. 5 years ago, we didn't have to do that. The children were served by public dentists, and they were good. But if there is an organization in Brazil that does that well, we could copy it. So, what I really would like to see, and we're trying to do that inside of our space of performance, I think Brazil has a group of organization and knowledge that can teach a lot to United States and Portugal and other countries. Because what's happening in Portugal, we only know a country when we live in a country. This is my life experience. I lived with my wife, and she was Brazilian, but I came as a tourist. It only changed for me when I started being a dweller and I started being a client of the public services. That's when I saw that things weren't that good. So I really think that there is this opportunity of exporting social technology. Carol told me that since we are connected to have a hangout with people from Plus Social Good and Social Good Summit, we're gonna have to close this aquarium. I couldn't not give my thanks to UN Foundation, who's our partner and put us in this global movement and believed in us from the first moment, believed in Lucia and Carol and all the team who is here with us in Brazil, and we're here with them, and Plus Social Good. That is this big global movement. We're going to be able to share a little bit with them and they with us. I would really like to thank the Link Social Good. See that in the panel that are people that make social good happen. We have Regina and Guta in the audience, Ziggy, Samantha. A lot of them have been here. And thank the volunteers, the online volunteers that were candidates for the disclose to disclose the social good. These are anonymous people that we don't even know, and they are helping us disclose the event, the platform, the lab, and all the activities. So I had to thank them. Time's up. It's over. So thank you guys, and a very big kiss to everybody.